Dune, written by Frank Herbert. What? Written by Frank Herbert, read by Sandrow. What do you despise? By this are you truly known. From Manual of Muad'Dib by Princess Irulan. Page 371. They are dead, Baron, said Lakin Nefud, the guard captain. Both the woman and the boy were certainly dead. The Baron Vladimir Harkonian sat up in sleep, suspensors of his private quarters. Beyond these quarters, and enclosing him like multi-shelled egg, stretched the space frigate he had grounded on Arrakis. Here, in his quarters, through the ship's harsh metal, was disguised with rapiers, with fabric paddings, and rare art objects. It is a certainty, the guard captain said. They are dead. The Baron shifted his gross body in the suspensors, focused his attention on an Ebeline statue of a leaping boy in a niche across the room. Sleep faded from him. He straightened the padded suspensor beneath the fat folds of his neck, started across the single globe of his bedchamber to the doorway where Captain Nefud stood, blocked by the pentashield. They're certainly dead, Baron, the man repeated. The Baron noted the trace of Semuta dullness in Nefud's eyes. It was obvious the man had been deep within the drug's rapture when he received this report, and had stopped only to make the antidote before rushing here. I have a full report, Nefud said. Let him sweat a little, the Baron thought. One must always keep the tools of statecraft sharp and ready, power and fear sharp and ready. Have you seen their bodies? The Baron rumbled. Nefud hesitated. Well, my lord, they were seen to dive into sandstorm, winds over 800 kilometers. Nothing survives such a storm, my lord. Nothing. One of our own craft was destroyed in the pursuit. The Baron stared at Nefud, noting the nervous twitch in the scissors line of the man's jaw muscles, the way the chin moved as Nefud swallowed. You have seen the bodies? The Baron asked. My lord, for what purpose do you come here, rattling your armor? The Baron roared. To tell me a thing is certain when it is not. Do you think I'll praise you for such stupidity? Give you another promotion? Nefud's face went bone pale. Look at the chicken, the Baron thought. I am surrounded by such useless claws. If it scattered sand before this creature and told him it was grain, he'd peck at it. The man Ido led us to them. Then, the Baron asked. Yes, my lord. Look how he blurts out his answers, the Baron thought. He said, they were attempting to flee to the Fremen, eh? Yes, my lord. Is there more to this report? The Imperial Planetologist, Kindness, is involved. My lord, Idaho joined this Kindness under mysterious circumstances. I might even say suspicious circumstances. So, they fled together to a place in the desert where it's apparent the boy and his mother were hiding. In the excitement of the chase, several of our groups were caught in a lace-gun shield explosion. How many did we lose? I'm not sure, my lord. He's lying, the Baron thought. It must been pretty bad. The impractical lackey, this Kindness, the Baron said. He was playing a double game, eh? I'd stake my reputation on it, my lord. His reputation? Have the man killed, the Baron said. My lord, Kindness is the Imperial Planetologist, His Majesty's own servant. Make it look like an accident, then. My lord, there were Sardaukar with our forces in the subjugation of this Fremen nest. They have Kindness in custody now. Get him away from them. Say I wish to question him. If they devour, they will not, if you handle it correctly. Nifud swallowed. Yes, my lord. The man must die, the Baron rumbled. He tried to help my enemies. Nifud shifted from one foot to the other. Well, my lord, the Sardaukar have two persons in custody, who might be of interest to you. They've caught the Duke's master of assassins. What? Tufir, what? I've seen the captive myself, my lord. 'Tis what I'd not have believed it possible. They say he was knocked out by a stunner, my lord, in the desert, where he couldn't use his shield. He's virtually unharmed. If we can get our hands on him, he'll provide great sport. This is a Mentard you speak of, the Baron growled. One doesn't waste a Mentard. Has he spoken? What does he say of his defeat? Could he know the extent of... But no. He has spoken only enough, my lord, to reveal his belief that the Lady Jessica was his betrayer. Ah, the Baron sank back, thinking then. You're sure it's the Lady Jessica who extracts his anger? He said it in my presence, my lord. Let him think she's alive, then. But, my lord, be quiet. I wish I were treated kindly. He must be told nothing of the late Dr. Yue, his true betrayer. Let it be said, Dr. Yue died defending his duke. In a way, this may even be true. It will instead feed the suspicion against Lady Jessica. My lord, I don't. The way to control and direct a Mentard Nifud is through his information, false results. Yes, my lord, but is Awad hungry? Thirsty? My lord, Awad still in the hands of Sardaukar. Yes, indeed, yes. But the Sardaukar would be anxious to get information from Awad, as I am. I've noticed a thing about our allies in field. They're not very devious, politically. I do believe this is a deliberate thing. The Emperor wants it that way. Yes, I do believe it. You will remind the Sardaukar commander of my renown at obtaining information from reluctant subjects. Nifud looked unhappy. Yes, my lord. You will tell the Sardaukar commander that I wish to question both Hawad and this kindness, at the same time playing one off against the other. He can understand that much, I think. Yes, my lord. And once we have them in our hands, the Baron nodded. My lord, the Sardaukar will want an observer with young during any questioning. I am sure we can produce an emergency to draw off any unwanted observers. Nifud. I understand, my lord. That's when kindness can have his accident. Both kindness and Hawar will have accidents then. Nifud. But only kindness will have a real accident. It's Hawar I want. Yes, oh yes. Nifud blinked, swallowed. He appeared about to ask a question, but remained silent. Hawat will be given both food and drink, the Baron said. Treated with kindness, with sympathy. In his water you will administer the residual poison developed by the late Peter de Vries, and you will see that the antidote becomes a regular part of Hawat's diet. From this point on, unless I say otherwise. The antidote, yes, Nifud shook his head, but don't be dense, Nifud. The Duke almost killed me with that poison capsule tooth. The gas he exhaled into my presence deprived me of most valuable Mentard pitta. I need a replacement. How what? But you're going to say what's completely loyal to the Atreides, true. But the Atreides are dead. We will woo him. He must be convinced he's not to blame for this Duke's demise. It was all the doing of the Bene Gesserit, which he had inferior master, one whose reason was clouded by emotion. Mentats admire the ability to calculate without emotion. Nifud, we will woo to the formidable Tufir, Habad. Woo him, yes, my lord. Awad, unfortunately, had a master whose resources were poor, one who could not elevate a Mentard to the sublime peaks of reasoning that are Mentard's right. Hawat will see a certain element of truth in this. Duke couldn't afford the most efficient spies to provide his method with the required information. The Baron said at Nifud, "Let us never deceive ourselves, Nifud. The truth is a powerful weapon. We know how overwhelmed the Atreides. Hawat knows too. We did it with wealth. With wealth. Yes, my lord. We will too, Hawat," the Baron said. "We will hide him from the Sardaukar, and we will hold him reserve. The withdrawal of the antidote for the poison. There is no way of removing the residual poison. And Nefud, Hawat, need never suspect. The antidote will not betray itself to a poison snooper. Hawat can scan his food as he pleases, and detect no trace of poison." Nefud's eyes opened wide with understanding. "The absence of a thing," the Baron said. "This can be as deadly as the presence. The absence of air, eh? The absence of water, the absence of anything else we're dedicated to." The Baron nodded. "You understand me, Nefud." Nefud swallowed. "Yes, my lord." "Then get busy, find the Sardaukar commander, and set things in motion." "At once, my lord." Nefud bowed, turned, and hurried away. Hawat by my side, the Baron thought. The Sardaukar will give him to me. If they suspect anything at all, is that I wish to destroy the Mentad, and his suspicion, I'll confirm the fools. One of the most formidable Mentads in all history. A Mentad trained to kill, and they'll toss him to me like some silly toy to be broken. I will show them what use can be made of such a toy. The Baron reached beneath a drapery beside his suspensor bed, pressed a button to summon his older nephew, Raban. He sat back smiling, and all the Atreides dead. The stupid guard captain had been right, of course. Certainly nothing survived in the path of a sandblast storm on Arrakis. Not an ornithopter or its occupants. The woman and the boy were dead. The bribes in the right place. The unthinkable expenditure to bring overwhelmingly military force down onto one planet. All the sly reports tailored for the Emperor's ears alone. All the careful scheming were here at last coming to full fruition. Power and fear. Fear and power. The Baron could see path ahead of him. One day Harkonnen would be Emperor. Not himself, and no spawn of his loins, but a Harkonian, not this Rabban he'd summoned, of course, but Rabban's younger brother, young Fate Rother. There was a sharpness to the boy that the Baron enjoyed, a ferocity. A lovely boy, the Baron thought. A year or two more, say by this time he's 17. I know for certain whether he's the tool that House Harkonnen requires to gain the throne. My lord, Baron, the man who stood outside the doorfield of the Baron's bedchamber was a low-built, gross-faced and body with the Harkonnen paternal lines, narrow-set eyes, and bulge of shoulders. There was some rigidity in his fat, but it was obvious to the eye that he'd come one day to the portable suspensors for carrying his excess weight. A muscle-minded tank brain, the Baron thought. No Mentat, my nephew, not a Piter, the Reese, but perhaps something precisely devised for the task at hand. If I give him the freedom to do it, he'll grind over everything in his path. Oh, how he'll be hated here on Arrakis. My dear Raban, the Baron said. He released the doorfield, but pointedly kept his body shield at full strength, knowing that the shimmer of it would be visible above the bedside glow globe. You summoned me, Raban said. He stepped into the room, flicked a glance past the air disturbance of the body shield, searched for a suspensor chair, found none. Stand closer, where I can see you easily, the Baron said. Raban advanced another step, thinking that the damnable old man had deliberately removed all the chairs, forcing a visitor to stand. The Atreides are dead, the Baron said. The last of them. That's why I summoned you here to Arrakis. This planet is again yours. Raban blinked, but I thought you were going to advance Piter the Reese to the Piter too is dead. Piter? Peter? The Baron reactivated the door field, blanket it against all energy penetration. You finally tired of him, eh? Raban asked. His voice fell flat and lifeless in the energy blanket room. I will say a thing to you just this once, the Baron rumbled. You insinuate that I obliterate Peter as one obliterates a trifle. He snapped fat fingers. Just like that, eh? I'm not stupid, nephew. I will take it unkindly if ever again you suggest by word or action that I am so stupid. Fear showed in the squinting of Raban's eyes. He knew within certain limits how far the old Baron would go against family, seldom to the point of death, unless there were outrageous profit or provocation in it. But the family punishments could be painful. Forgive me, my lord, the Baron said. He lowered his eyes as much to hide his own anger as to show subservience. You do not fool me, Raban, the Baron said. Raban kept his lowered swallowed. I make a point, the Baron said, never obliterate a man unthinkingly, the way an entire thief might do it. Though some due process of law, always do it for an overriding purpose and know your purpose. Anger spoke in Raban, but you obliterate the traitor. I saw his body being carried out as I arrived last night. Raban stared at his uncle, suddenly frightened by the sound of those words, but the Baron smiled. I am very careful about dangerous weapons. He said Dr. Yue was a traitor. He gave them the Duke. Strength poured into Baron's voice. I suppose a doctor of the Sac school, the inner school. You hear, boy? But that's a wild sort of weapon to leave lying about. I didn't obliterate him casually. Does the Emperor know you suborned a Suk doctor? This was a penetrating question, the Baron thought. Have I misjudged this nephew? The Emperor doesn't know it yet, the Baron said, but the Sardaukar are sure to report it to him. Before that happens, though, I'll have my own report in his hands. Though Quam Company jealous, I will explain that I luckily discovered a doctor who pretended to the conditioning. A false doctor, you understand. Since everyone knows you cannot counter the conditioning of a Cirque school, this will be accepted. Ah, I see, Raban murmured. And the Baron thought, indeed, I hope you do see it. I hope you do see how vital it is that this remains secret. The Baron suddenly wondered at himself. Why did I do that? Why did I boast to this fool nephew of mine, the nephew I must use as a guard? The Baron felt anger at himself. He felt betrayed. It must be kept secret, Raban said. I understand. The Baron sighed. I give you different instructions about Arrakis this time. Nephew, when last you ruled this place, I held you strong reign. This time I have only one requirement, my lord. Income. Income? Have you any idea, Raban, how much we spent to bring such military forces to bear on the Atreides? Do you have the first inkling of how much the guild charges for military transport? Expensive, eh? Expensive. The Baron shot a fat arm toward Raban. If you squeeze Arrakis for every cent it can give us for 60 years, you will just barely repay us. Raban opened his mouth, closed it without speaking. Expensive. The Baron sneered. The damnable guild monopoly on space would have ruined us if we hadn't planned for this expense long ago. You should know, Raban, that we bore the entire brunt of it. We even paid for transport of the Sardaukar. And not for the first time the Baron wondered if there ever would come a day when the guilds might be circumvented. They were insidious, bleeding off just enough to keep the host from objecting until they had you in the fist, where they could force you pay and to pay. Always the exorbitant demands rode upon military ventures. Hazard rates, the only guild, agents explained, and for every agent you managed to insert as a watchdog in the guild buying structure, they put 2 agents into your system. Insufferable. Income then, Raban said. The Baron lowered his arm, made a fist. You must squeeze, and I may do anything I wish as long as I squeeze. anything. The cannons you brought, Raban said. Could I? I'm removing them, the Baron said. But you won't need such toys. They were a special innovation and are now useless. We need the metal. They cannot go against a shield, Raban. They were merely this unexpected. It was predictable that the Duke's men would retreat into cliff caves on this abdominal planet. Our cannon merely sealed them in. The Fremens then use shields. You may keep some lasguns if you wish. Yes, my lord, and I have a free hand, as long as you squeeze. Ruban's smile was gloating. I understand perfectly, my lord. You understand nothing perfectly, the Baron growled. Let us have that clear at the outset. What you do understand is how to carry out my orders. Has it occurred to you, nephew, that there are at least 5 million persons on this planet? Does my lord forget that I was his wretched Sirdar here before? And if my lord will forgive me, his estimate may be low. It is difficult to count the population scattered among sinks and pans the way they are here. And when you consider the Fremen of the Fremen unworth considering. Forgive me, my lord, but the Sardaukar believe otherwise. The Baron hesitated, staring at his nephew. You know something? My lord had retired when I arrived last night. I took the liberty of contacting some of my lieutenants from before they've been acting as guides to the Sardaukar. They report that the Fremen band ambushed a Sardaukar force somewhere southeast from here and wiped it out. Wiped out a Sardaukar force? Yes, my lord. Impossible. Raban shrugged. Fremen defeating Sardaukar, the Baron sneered. I repeat only what was reported to me, Raban said. It is said the Fremen forces already had captured the Duke's redoubtable Tufir Havad. Ah. The Baron nodded, smiling. I believe the report, Raban said. You have no idea what a problem the Fremen were. Perhaps, but they weren't Fremen your lieutenant saw. They must have been Atreides men trained by Havad and disguised as Fremen. It is the only possible answer. Again, Raban shrugged. Where the Sardaukar think they were Fremen, the Sardaukar already have launched a program to wipe out all Fremen. Good. But I'll keep the Sardaukar occupied, and we'll soon have a war. I know it. I can feel it. Oh, this has been a day. The Sardaukar of hunting a few useless desert bands where we get the real prize. My lord, Raban hesitated, frowning. I've always felt that we underestimate the Fremen, both in numbers and in... Ignore them, boy. They're a rabble. It's the populous towns, cities, and villages that concern us. A great many people there. Ah, great many people, my lord. They worry me, Raban. Worry you? Oh, 90% of them are of no concern. But there are always a few, house, miner, and so on, people of ambition, who might try a dangerous thing. One of them should go, if one of them should go off Arrakis with an unpleasant story about what happened here, I'd be most displeased. Have you any idea how displeased I'd be? Raban swallowed. You must take immediate measures to hold a hostage from each house, miner, the Baron said. As far as anyone of Arrakis must learn, this was straightforward. House to house. Battle. The Sardaukar had no part in it. You understand? The Duke was offered the usual quarter and exile, but he died in an unfortunate accident before he could accept. He was about to accept, though. That it is the story and rumor that we are Sardaukar. Here I must be laughed at. As the Emperor wishes it, Raban said. As the Emperor wishes it. What about the smugglers? No one believes the smugglers, Raban. They are tolerated, but not believed. At any rate, you'll be spreading some bribes in that quarter. and taking other measures, which I'm sure you can think of. Yes, my lord. Two things for Marrakech then, Brabant: income and merciless fist. You must show no mercy here. Think of these clods as what they are: slaves, envious of their masters, and waiting only the opportunity to rebel. Not the slightest vestige of pity or mercy must you show them. Can one exterminate an entire planet? Raban asked. Exterminate? Surprise showed in the swift turning of the Baron's head. Who said anything about exterminating? Well, I presumed you were going to bring in a new stock, and I said squeeze, nephew, not exterminate. Don't waste the population, merely drive them into utter submission. He must be the carnivore, my boy. He smiled at baby's expression in the dimpled fat face. A carnivore never stops. Show no mercy, never stop. Mercy is a chimera. It can be defeated by the stomach rumbling its hunger, by the throat crying its thirst. You must be always hungry and thirsty, the Baron caressed his bulges beneath the suspensors. Like me. I see, my lord. Raban swung his gaze left and right. It's all clear then, nephew. Except for one thing, uncle, the planetologist, Kindness. Ah, yes, Kindness. Yes, the Emperor's man, my lord. He can come and go as he pleases, and he's very close to the Fremen married one. Kindness will be dead by tomorrow's nightfall. That's dangerous work, uncle, killing an imperial servant. How do you of think I've come this far, this quickly? The Baron demanded. His voice was low, charged with unspeakable adjectives. Besides, you need never have feared Kindness would leave Arrakis. You're forgetting that he's addicted to the spies. Of course, those who know will do nothing to endanger their supply, the Baron said. Kindness certainly must know. I forgot, Raban said. They stared at each other in silence. Presently the Baron said, Incidentally, you will make my own supply one of our first concerns. I've quite a stockpile of private stuff, but that's suicide rate. But the Duke's men got most of what we'd stored for sale. Raban nodded. Yes, my lord. The Baron brightened. Now, tomorrow morning, you will assemble what remains of organization here, and you'll say to them, Our sublime Paddish Emperor has charged me to take possession of this planet and all dispute. I understand, my lord. This time I'm sure you do. We will discuss it in more detail tomorrow. Now to finish leave me to finish my sleep. The Baron deactivated his door field, watched his nephew out of sight. A tank brain, the Baron thought, muscle-minded. Tank brain. There will be bloody pulp here when he's through with them. Then when I send in a Fade Ruler to take the load of them, they'll clear their rescuer, beloved Fade. Rutha. Bengin Fade Rutha. The compassionate one who saves them from a beast, Fade Rutha, a man to follow and die for. The boy will know by that time how to oppress with impunity. I'm sure he's the one we need. He'll learn. And such a lovely body. Really, a lovely body. A lovely boy. Jesus Christ, he's weird. The next chapter, page 388. At the age of 15, he had already learned silence from a child's history of Morabit by the Princess Irulan. As Paul fought the Thopter's controls, he grew aware that He was sorting out the interwoven storm forces, his more than mental awareness computing on the basis of fractional minutiae. He felt dust, fronts, billowings, mixings of turbulence, an occasional vortex. The cabin inferior was an angry box, lighted by the green radiance of instrument dials. The tan flow of dust outside appeared featureless, but his inner sense began to see through the curtain. I must find the right vortex, he thought. For a long time now he had sensed the storm's power diminishing, but still it shook them. He waited out other turbulence. The vortex began an abrupt billowing that rattled the entire ship. Paul defied all fear to bang the thumper left. Thopter. Jessica saw the maneuver on the attitude globe. Paul, she screamed. The vortex turned them, twisting, tipping. It lifted the thopter like a chip on a geezer, spewed them up and out, a winged speck with a core of winding dust, lighted by the second moon. Paul looked down, saw the dust-defined pillar of hot wind that had disgorged them, saw the dying storm trailing away like a dry river into the desert, a moon-ray motion, growling smaller and smaller below as they rode the updraft. "We're out of it," Jessica whispered. "Oh, we're out of it," Jessica whispered. Paul turned the craft away from the dust in swooping rhythm, while he scanned the night sky. "We've given them the slip," he said. Jessica felt the heart pounding. She forced herself to calmness, looked at the diminishing storm. Her time sense said they had ridden within that compounding of elemental force almost 4 hours, but part of their mind computed the passage as a lifetime. She felt reborn. It was like the litany, she thought. We faced it and did not resist. The storm passed through us and around us. It's gone, but we remain. "I don't like the sound of your wing motion," Paul said. "We suffered some damage in there." He felt the grating injured flight through his hand, out into the full view of his prescient vision. Yet they had escaped, and Paul sensed himself trembling on the verge of revelation. He shivered. The sensation was magnetic and terrifying, and he found himself caught on the question of what caused this trembling awareness. Part of it, he felt, was the spice-saturated diet of Iraqis, but he thought part of it could be the litany, as though the word has power of their own. "I shall not fear." Cause and effect, he was alive despite malignant forces, and he felt himself poised on a brink of self-awareness. That could not have been without the litany's magic. Words from Orange Catholic Bible rang through his memory. What sense do we lack that we cannot see or hear another world all around us? "There is rock all around us," Jessica said. Paul focused on the thopter's launching shock. Is that to clear it? He looked where his mother pointed, saw uplifting rock shapes, black on the sand ahead, and though right, he felt wind around his ankles, a stirring of dust in the cabin. There was a hole somewhere, more of the storm's doing. "Bet set us down on sand," Jessica said. "The wings might not take full break." He nodded toward a place ahead where sand-blasted ridges lifted into moonlight above the dunes. "Set us down near those rocks. Check your safety harness." She obeyed, thinking, "We've water and sailsuits. If we can't find food, we can survive a long time on this desert. Forever live here. What they can do, we can do." One for those rocks the instant we're stopped, Paul said. I'll take the pack. Run for. She fell silent, nodded. Worms. Our friends the worms, he corrected her. They get this stopped. There'll be no evidence of where we'll landed. A smart one, I see. How direct his thinking, she thought.